It is Sunday, May 8th, 2016, and welcome to the Multifarious Man Podcast, episode number 25, Purple Rain. As always, I'm your host, Jay Vincent. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Multifarious Man, or follow the podcast blog at www.multifariousman.com. On today's show, due to the unexpected passing of Prince Rogers Nelson on April 21st at the young age of 57, I'm going to take you through my personal journey with the music and movies from His Royal Badness. Now, it is also Mother's Day. So to all the listeners, all my family and friends, happy Mother's Day, specifically to my mother, Marlene, my wife, Akina, and my sister, Jonda. So I hope you have a wonderful Mother's Day, and I hope you get to listen to this, if not today, within a few days of Mother's Day. But enough of that. Now, if you're a regular listener of the show, you know I haven't recorded a show since March. Been a lot of changes, been busy, but you know how time goes by and this work and the world keeps spinning and you can't always put out content like you want to. That being said, I'll kind of touch on it at the end of the show. There's going to be some changes not necessarily in the format. It's going to be more about getting back to what I really wanted to do when I first started the show in the fall. And for that, there's going to be a change in scheduling in terms of how often I put out content, but I'll give you more details at the end of this episode. But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Numerous and varied, greatly diverse and manifold. All the things I want to say that never been told. Dina Sinatra to Drake and Pharrell. When I'm listening to this week, you can never tell. Bogey and Bacall, even Meryl Streep. The devil wears Prada, even the big sleep. It doesn't matter where you stand. I'm the multifarious man.
All right, welcome back to the show. Again, this is the Multifarious Man Podcast, episode 25, Purple Rain. No, that's not R-A-I-N. It's actually R-E-I-G-N. So, as I said in the beginning, it's celebrating the life and music of His Royal Badness, Prince Rogers Nelson. Now, Prince, Prince is Prince. I mean, during the 80s, during the high point of his career, there was always a lot of comparison between Prince and Michael Jackson. They were just so different. I mean, there's nothing taken away from Michael Jackson and what he brought to the world of music from the time, he was a little boy in the Jackson 5 until his passing. His approach to music was different. He worked with a lot of different producers. He did write songs, but and he, surprising to some, he actually did play some instruments, but that's not what he was known for. He was known for his voice, and he was known for his dancing and, showmanship. Prince, on the other hand, this guy did everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. So if you go back and look through some of the music notes and liners of some of his albums over the years, most of his albums, it'll say all songs written and performed by Prince. Now, this means he not only wrote the music, wrote the lyrics, but he also went in the studio and would play every instrument, and then not only do his own lead vocals, but he would go back and do his own background vocals, chorus. His voice would be at different speeds to have different sounds to it. I mean, talk about a one-man crew. He did everything. So typically at this point in the show, I talk about what I'm watching and, reading, watching, and listening to. Forget all that. With Prince's passing, and, I went back and not only listened to the songs I listened to all the time, but went back and watched Purple Rain again, watched Under the Cherry Moon again. Haven't watched Graffiti Bridge again yet. Wasn't exactly a great movie, but I love the soundtrack, and more about that later. But just everything he touched, and then you think of all the other artists he impacted, artists that he directly worked with, or he wrote songs for, or artists that, their career started because they were fans of Prince. I mean, you could probably, read 1,000 articles and watch a lot of reports, and a lot of stuff came out on the internet and on the news about, different Prince stories, and all of them some of them were personal, some of them were impersonal, but everything about his music probably touched a lot in my life because he rose to fame during, the majority of my life, my prominence, coming of age, basically. So, I went back, listened to the Batman soundtrack again. Phenomenal. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, it really was perfect soundtrack. And the fact that he did all the music for that movie, amazing. Go back and listen to it. Under the Cherry Moon, it's a quiet movie. It's so different. People thought it was going to be a Purple Rain sequel. It wasn't. It was something completely different. And the soundtrack from that, amazing. But that's it. That was my reading, watching, and listening to. Went back and listened to, the entire catalog and, a lot of my favorite albums, of course, over and over again. And most of it I had actually listened to that week. So it was kind of weird that I had gone back and listened to the B-Sides album, which has, about 70 different, songs from over the years, hits and B-sides, which, of course, if you don't know, the B-side is usually when a single comes out, the record company would always put another song on the B-side. So you flip over the record. So that's where B-sides comes from. It's always lead single, and then there's another song. And sometimes the B-side song actually takes off more than the actual one that was, the main event. But go back and listen to a lot of his stuff. Read the lyrics. The man was very poetic, a lot of tongue-in-cheek, double entendre, symbolism. If you ask me, R. Kelly, his whole career is basically of comparing women to cars and vehicles and different things. Well, Prince had been doing that since the late 70s. So, anybody that thinks R. Kelly created something new, forget about it. Prince was the king of actually creating poetry from his lyrics. And, there's always that undercurrent. You can listen to his music and there'd be 6 different levels. You'd listen to it the first time and you get one thing. You listen to it again and it takes on a whole different meaning. Then you dig and even more layers and you get the metaphors that just were throughout his music. So that being said, when I come back, I'm going to take you through the journey of my introduction and years of listening to Prince. So sit back, relax, and when we return from this break, we're going to get into all things Prince. All right, welcome back to the show. Again, this is the Multifarious Man Podcast, episode 25, Purple Rain, and I am your host, Jay Vincent. Now, Prince, a musical revolution. I discovered Prince quite by accident. Now, this was in the fall, the fall of 1984. I entered 6th grade at PS 156 in Laurelton, Queens. I was, at the time, listening to songs by Wham, Stevie Wonder, Tina Turner, Tears for Fears, songs from the Beat Street soundtrack, Houdini, LL Cool J were in heavy rotation. Then, one day, the coolest kid in class, Rasan Stevens, came to school, probably on a Monday, and told the class about the amazing movie he had gone to see over the weekend. That movie was Purple Rain. First of all, the fact that he got to see an R-rated movie made all of us want to hear all about it. But, not only want to hear about it, but to find a way to get an older sibling, cousin, cool uncle, somebody to take us to see it. He spoke of the musical and sexual exploits of Morris Day, Jerome, Prince, a.k.a. The Kid, and the Revolution in and around a nightclub in Minneapolis. He showed us Morris Day's dance moves along with the antics with Jerome. Furthermore, he talked about the musical performances and gave us a detailed description of the beautiful Apollonia. After this pure introduction, accompanied by Rashawn's seal of approval, I made it my mission to see the movie and hear the album. Now, it would be a few years before I finally got a chance to see Purple Rain on home video, but I was able to get my greedy little hands on a Purple Rain cassette, and my initiation into the musical world of Prince had begun. Now, rather than just recount the hit songs from the Prince lexicon, I'm taking a little bit of a different approach. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Purple Rain's, all the hits, all the main hits and throughout his career. Purple Rains, the Little Red Corvettes, the 1999s, the Adores, and the like. What made Prince and his music so personal for me were a lot of the B-sides, the album cuts, soundtrack songs that didn't get any radio airplay, but I still played them over and over again on CD, on vinyl, on cassette tape, and nowadays digitally. These are songs I like to hear, sing along to at the top of my lungs, and play along with on my guitar. Now, mind you, the first two I manage in my mind with great aplomb. In reality, people don't play Prince's songs on guitar. They attempt to play a pale facsimile. First up, Sometimes It Snows in April from the album Parade. Now, the story with this is I finally got to see Purple Rain on VHS, which is videotape to some of the people that have never seen that or heard of it, before seeing the movie Under the Cherry Moon. Now, I'm sure many people were disappointed, and I'm one of them, that it wasn't a sequel to Purple Rain, but personally, I love this movie. It was a simple black and white classic love story directed by and starring Prince. Prince is Christopher Tracy. He's a gigolo that falls in love with his mark, a young Kristen Thomas, I want to say. And whether you love or hate the movie, you cannot ignore the soundtrack album, Parade, and the tragically beautiful ballad, Sometimes It Snows in April. If you haven't heard it, you need to either buy it or go over the title and check it out. But it's just a beautiful song. Next up, The Cross from Sign of the Times. Now, including the title track from Sign of the Times and the timeless Adore, the Sign of the Times album has many songs that hold up to multiple spins. The Cross is one of my jams from this album, and if you hadn't had a chance to see the concert film that goes with it, I highly recommend it. Next up, Not So Sexy. Now, I get the whole thing with creative license and artistic vision, but to this day, I still cannot forgive Prince for issuing the Love Sexy album on vinyl as 2 side-long tracks, and on CD, it's 1 track. In other words, there was no way to skip ahead to a particular song. You had to listen to the entire album in sequence. Sure, once you wrote down the song lengths, you could kind of fast forward to the spot you wanted on CD, but no such luck on LP. Regardless, When Two Are in Love is one of my favorite songs from this album. So, even though you're kind of hamstrung in how you listen to it, which I'm sure that was the intent because it's supposed to be listened to it as one piece, but sometimes you just want to hear the single. The Dark Knight. Now, Batman the movie was an event of epic proportions. Who else was equally epic and capable of creating an album of new music specifically for the movie? Prince and Batman went great together like chocolate and peanut butter. The Arms of Orion, which is a duet with Sheena Easton, Party Man, and the fabulous Scandalous, probably annoyed my neighbors because every day when I got home from school, I played those 3 songs on repeat at the loudest possible volume. And then I would open up all the windows and the front door at the house and sit outside and listen to them. So, yeah, they got to hear them at as loud as possible. The sequel. When word got out that Prince was finally working on a sequel to Purple Rain, I stood up and took notice. I rushed out to see the movie on its opening weekend, and it was not the sequel we were looking for. But the music, the music makes Graffiti Bridge the Prince album that I play in its entirely in sequence more than any other. The fact that there were multiple songs featuring the time didn't hurt either. Songs like Release It, The Question of You, Elephants and Flowers, Weekend Funk, Joy and Repetition, Love Machine, Tick Tick Bang, Melody Cool, that still would stand all time. And as an added bonus, the world was introduced to Tevin Campbell on the song Round and Round. If you skipped over this album because of the movie reviews, trust me, you are making a huge mistake. You need to listen to it. Check it out. Precious Jewels. By the time Prince dropped Get Off, the first single from the Diamonds and Pearls album, I was ready for something new from the Funk Master. The first time I heard the song was when I saw the video with a bunch of friends from high school at a party/barbecue. Strolling, Willing and Able, Money Don't Matter Tonight, and Insatiable, some of my favorite songs from the album. I still own the DVD collection of videos from the album, starring the models portraying Diamond and Pearl. And I may just have to cue it up, if not this week, this next week, for old time's sake. The Artist. One day, Prince decided to change his name to an unpronounceable symbol and became known in the press as The Artist, formerly known as Prince or simply The Artist. Then he released an album whose title was that same symbol. I fell in love with this album the first time I heard the opening the opening horns from the single Sexy MF. Yeah, it's a curse word. MF, you know what it is. Rhymes with trucker. The album played out like an opera and generated some of my favorite latter-day Prince songs. Love to the Nines, The Morning Papers, The Max, Blue Light, The Continental, Damn You are standouts on my list. And the epic 3 Chains of Gold is a modern-day Bohemian Rhapsody, and it's just about as long. The Lost Years. After the Love Symbol album, I lost touch with Prince for a long period of time. Now, I didn't stop listening to the music that I already owned. It was just that Prince had changed the way he had released and distributed music. And it wasn't until 1999 that I rediscovered him when he released Rave Until the Joy Fantastic through traditional brick and mortar stores. The Greatest Romance Ever Sold, So Far, So Pleased, Man of War were added to my Prince favorites list. 2004's Musicology brought me Call My Name. And then in 2006, with 3121, I found Te Amo Corazon, Fury, The Word, Beautiful, Loved, and Blessed, and The Dance. Is this the end? Over the last 5 years or so, I found new Prince music that I came to love just as much as the old stuff. This list includes Forever, Love Like Jazz, Wall of Berlin, You're Gonna See Me, Here, and Old School Company from the Lowest Flower MPL Sound double album. Then Plectrum Electrum gave us Wow, Pretzel Body Logic, Plectrum Electrum, White Caps, Fix Your Life Up, Another Love, and Funk and Roll. Right on the heels of Plectrum Electrum, Prince and his all-girl band, Third Eye Blind, released Artificial Age. Breakdown, You Know, and Breakfast Can Wait deserve attention from this album. Lastly, without any preamble, and within a few months of each other in 2015, Prince and his band released Hit and Run Phase 1 and Phase 2. So far, I'm feeling This Could Be Us, Fall in Love Tonight, X's Face, Hard Rock Lover, 1,000 X and O's from Phase 1, and Rock and Roll Love Affair, Stare, Groovy Potential, Screwdriver, and Black Muse from Phase 2. Of course, with his newer music, it takes some time for the songs to marinate before I truly appreciate them, but as far as I'm concerned, it's vintage Prince. Prince has so much music out there that it will still take me years to discover and truly appreciate the scope of his musical genius. He will be missed, but thanks to the volumes that he has shared with us, a part of him will always be with us. Now, when we come back, I'll wrap up the show and kind of get into what I mentioned in the beginning is some of the things that I'm changing with the show and how often it's going to be coming out. So sit back, relax, and I will be right back. All right, welcome back to the Multifarious Man Podcast, episode 25, Purple Rain. Now, I hope that as you listened, you enjoyed some of the Prince songs that I mentioned. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't. If not, maybe you'll give them a try. If you're a Prince fan, you've probably heard most of these, and there's probably more that I didn't even mention. And like I said at the beginning, I didn't even talk about how much I love his main hits. Purple Rain, I just love this song. The full 7-minute version, Adore. The full album cut, which is close to 6 minutes. You listen to the lyrics of his songs, and he's very playful. He's not always upfront about the sexual content. Sometimes it's all in metaphors and turn of phrase, but then sometimes he's right in your face. This is what it is. This is what I want to do. This is what I want you to do to me. And you can't help but smile and laugh and think about where you were when you first heard something, whether it was at a house party, whether you were on a date, whether you were out at a club somewhere and something came on. And I'm sure if you're like me, you and your friends probably have plenty of stories of times you sat and listened to Prince songs and watched videos, and just really enjoyed it. And, I have older cousins that, were able to go to concerts, or got to dress up as Prince, for Halloween. They've been following Prince, since his first album. And, I came in a little bit later, but that's one of the wonderful things about Prince and his music. It was cross-generational. He was loved by all different races, all different religions, people from all over the world. So, you go somewhere and you meet someone, doesn't matter where they're from, you talk about Prince and there's your common ground. And, and I always say that about music is something that unifies people. It doesn't, it brings people together. You can speak different languages, but you hear that music and you all know the lyrics. So it's amazing how music has that ability. And the fact that you can talk to people from different generations, people of a certain age, it just goes across time. So music is timeless. And that's something really, really special about Prince's music. Because if you think about some of the songs you used to listen to when you were younger, some of them have a sound that's stuck in that particular time period. But, and I've noticed this more just, since Prince's passing as I was listening to the music. I mean, yeah, there's some songs that are for a particular time, but the majority of his catalog, these are songs that really are timeless. They fit. I mean, if you think about how current even today, 1999 sounds, and that song came out in 1982? You can pump that song today. I mean, it's a heck of a end of the year song. It's a heck of a party song. I mean, Let's Go Crazy. Who couldn't stand just going crazy? That's the beauty of Prince's music. So, he will definitely be missed, but again, the music stands the test of time. Now, the changes I keep talking about. When I first started this show, I always said I wanted to use it not only to talk about the things I love in music, film, theater, and books, but also wanted it to use the show also to express my creative side. I write, I play music, I sing a little bit, but I want to going forward, and so the show, instead of coming out every week, I'm gonna record a show every 2 weeks, because I find that gives me more time for the creative outlet and to plan things out. I'm going to start including, whether it's short stories or poems or, things I'm working on that I'd like to share with the audience, but also more in terms of not just what I'm watching, reading, and listening to, but actually sharing reviews of things that I've enjoyed, to kind of give you more insight instead of a 1 or 2 line, hey, check this out, I think you'll like this, but actually more in-depth stories. So I think, that'll make the show more well-rounded, and it'll be more closer to the vision of what it was when I started it back in September. And I hope you, as the listeners, I hope you still continue to tune in and you still find it enjoyable. Let me know. I mean, of course, you can always send me messages on Twitter at Multifarious Man. I'll keep posting things on Instagram, Twitter, on Facebook, and also you can always send me an email at multifarious.man.podcast@gmail.com. So I hope you enjoyed this show, and I look forward to future episodes, and I'd really like to hear what people have to say. But again, to all the mothers out there, happy Mother's Day, and everyone else, thanks for listening again. And as always, as I say, why be various when you can be multifarious? And I am out of here.
Numerous and varied, greatly diverse and manifold. All the things I want to say that never been told. Dina Sinatra to Drake and Pharrell. When I'm listening to this week, you can never tell. Bogey and Bacall, even Meryl Streep. The devil wears Prada, even the big sleep. It doesn't matter where you stand, I'm the multifarious man.